All right, calling all sole proprietors, independent contractors, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, 1099 workers. If you get a 1099 or you file a Schedule C with the IRS, this video is for you. All right, so Paycheck Protection Program, we're still talking about it. And what has come to my attention recently is that a lot of people are still not sure whether or not they can get this loan and get this money if they are an independent contractor, a sole proprietor, somebody who's operating as a LLC but taxed as a sole proprietor, or they're just doing a DBA under their social security number. They're not sure what to do. Does this money apply to them? That is what this video is all about. What I'm going to walk you through is who is eligible for this, how to calculate your loan amount, how to use the money, and then how to get it forgiven. Okay, so this video is really all you need to know if you're a sole proprietor. And sometimes people will try to ask like a bunch of other questions. What about this? What about this? What about this? But like I'm telling you the information you need to know, and please listen to guidance. Please don't listen to so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so who may have given you some bad information. There's a lot of bad information going on and going around out there about the Paycheck Protection Program and sole proprietors. So try to focus in, try to read real guidance, and we're going to go through what is actually in the guidance today. And I want to help you guys get this money if you can really use it in your business. Okay. So just a little story before we start. I was getting my hair done and my hairdresser I was talking to her about what I was doing, and I was telling her, oh yeah, you probably qualify for the PPP program. And she was like, no, I don't, because I don't have payroll. And I was like, well, that's a common misconception, but you are a sole proprietor because you file a Schedule C. And so the Paycheck Protection Program allows what's called owner compensation replacement. So you don't have to pay anybody else. You can actually pay yourself with the PPP. And she, at first, it took a lot of convincing. I mean, because she had, I guess, other circles, especially in the hairdresser community, saying that it wasn't for them because they didn't have payroll. And so I was trying to break down that myth and really try to encourage her to go and consider a PPP, because it's been a really hard year for hairdressers. So thankfully, she took my advice and I think she is getting a loan. But I think the important part here is that we think about who qualifies. And basically, if you file a Schedule C and you go down and you look at line 31, this could be for 2019 or 2020. If you look at line 31 and that number is positive, it's not zero and it's not a negative number, then you can potentially qualify for PPP. Okay? So I just want to put that out there. If you have a Schedule C, you need to go look at it. So if you need to take a moment right now, pause this video and go and run and get your Schedule C from 2019 or 2020. Go ahead and do that right now. And yeah, come back and then we can talk through it. So this might be a good time as well to go ahead and remind you to like this video if it's helpful to you. And please also subscribe to the channel, because this is the type of information I want to bring to help you figure out how to be more financially successful in your small business. Okay, so if you have your Schedule C, great, because I think it's helpful to just kind of refer to it as we're walking through. Now, again, look at that line 31, because that line 31 is going to be the kind of key critical number that we're going to talk about over and over and over again. If you're looking at it right now and it says 0 or it's negative, that means that you cannot apply for a PPP. Now, two things here. You can use the 2019 Schedule C, or you can use your 2020 Schedule C. However, we're talking right now at the very beginning of February. A lot of tax accountants aren't even starting to do tax returns yet. So you might not have a filed Schedule C. So if that's the case, what you can do is you can fill in all your information like you were filling out your Schedule C, which would be a little bit difficult if you don't have all of this information readily available to you. But you do want to you could pull together your profit and loss, because on a Schedule C, you put in all your business income and then you put all of your expenses, and essentially you come up with a net profit number. So, which is income after expenses is net profit. Okay. So if you want to do those calculations and kind of fill out sort of a estimated Schedule C for 2020, you can use that to apply for the loan. However, when you go to apply for forgiveness, you're going to have to use your filed Schedule C from that year, from 2020. So make sure you're aware of that. You don't want to overdo and ask for too much money and overestimate, because you're going to be limited to what your actual filed Schedule C says. Okay, so don't overestimate on that side. All right, so let's start with just how do you calculate a loan amount. If you do not have a PPP loan yet and you want to go apply for one, let's start there, because some of you still haven't applied, because now you've just found out that you can actually go and get the money. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that Schedule C from either year, and you can use whichever year is better for you. But you're going to take line 31, you're going to divide it by 12 to get an average profit for the year by dividing by 12 months in a year. And then you're going to multiply that times 2.5. So line 31 divided by 12 equals something. Multiply that number times 2.5. And that's your total loan amount. Now, you have to cap your line 31, Schedule C line 31, you have to cap it at $100,000. You can't get any more. Like, let's say your profit was $300,000 for the year. Amazing. But you cannot use $300,000 as your basis to calculate that loan amount, okay? You cannot do that. You have to max it at $100,000. And the reason they're doing that is because that's what they're doing for every employee. They're maxing all cash compensation for every employee at $100,000. So this is a way to make that apples to apples, since this is a compensation replacement for owners. Okay, so max out your line 31 at 100,000 divided by 12, multiply times 2.5, and that is the amount you can ask for as your loan amount. Now, if you are under NAICS code 72, you can ask for 3.5 times your average monthly profit. Restaurants and hospitality businesses are allowed to take 3.5 months now rather than the 2.5 months. Okay, so that's kind of an extra benefit for them because they're so hard hit. Okay, so when you take the calculation, the maximum you can get as a sole proprietor with no employees is $20,833.33, because if you take 100,000 divided by 12, multiply times 2.5, you're going to get that number, $20,833.33. So that's the maximum you can get. And this is for every, like, whether or not you're getting PPP 1 or PPP 2, the calculation is the same. There's no difference. Even if you used your 2019 Schedule C to apply for PPP 1 and then you qualify for PPP 2, you can still use your 2019 number to apply for another loan under PPP 2. Okay, so it's not like, oh, we've already used those payroll costs, we can't use them again to get another loan. That's not the case. So I just want to make sure you know that. Calculation is always the same regardless. Regardless of if it's your initial loan or you're getting a second draw PPP loan. Okay, so now we've talked about who can get the loans, how to calculate the loans. Now, how do you use the loans? So we use the loan just by taking it as an owner's draw out of the business account and into your personal account. This is really critical. If you do not have a business account now, please go ahead and open one up and deposit the PPP into it and just say, hey, now it's my new business account. If you didn't have one before, you need to get one anyway, so go ahead and open one up now. When you get the PPP money, put it into your business account, and then you will distribute it to yourself in a way that you see fit. So if it helps you from your personal budgeting perspective to drip it out to you on a regular weekly basis, that's fine. If you want to take one big lump sum and pay it all to yourself at one point in time, that's okay. But this is owner compensation replacement. You are allowed to take it and put it into your personal account. But I want there to be good separation there. Don't get the PPP deposited into your personal account just because it's messy, okay? Like, you might be fine at the end of the day. I don't think anybody's going to tell you can't do that necessarily, but I'm telling you, best practice as a business owner, separate your business and personal accounts. And this is a perfect time to make sure that you have that separation really clear, okay? Open up a bank account. put the PPP money in there, then distribute it to your personal account. Okay, then you're going to have a nice record of a bank statement showing that money leaving your account and going to your personal account. If you have this going into your personal account, it gets messy. And, it might look like if the SBA were to look at your stuff, they're going to go, well, why were you spending, $300 at Sephora and, with your PPP money, you just got it in. And, you just don't want that. You don't want the optics of what that looks like. And it's not best business practice. Okay. So when you get the money, put it into your business account, then transfer it over to your personal in a way that you see fit. Yeah, I would say go ahead and do this in the first 2.5 months of getting the money. Now, let's say you didn't want to use all the money as owner compensation replacement. So you got the loan for, let's just say it was the full max amount, $20,833. But let's say you said, hey, Hannah, I actually don't want to use all the money on that because I have these other expenses coming in and I really need that cash flow to help me at home. I don't really need it as much, but I really need it in the business right now. And if that's the case, that is totally fine. You can still use the calculation. You would only use up to 40% of your loan amount on non-payroll costs, and you can use the other amount on payroll costs. Okay, and you can take the other amount as a distribution to yourself. Now, just to do a really quick calculation here, if you were to take 60% of that amount, you would be taking home $12,500. 60% of $2,833 is $12,500. So if that's the case, you would take that as a draw, and then you could use up to 40% for other eligible non-payroll costs. Okay, so after you spent the money and your covered period ends, so you can close your covered period anywhere between 8 weeks and 24 weeks. So after you get your money, that's when your covered period starts, and then you can close your covered period anywhere between 8 weeks and 24 weeks after you've gotten your money. However, for a sole proprietor, it doesn't really make sense for them to keep their covered period open past 2.5 months because we had enough money for 2.5 months of owner's compensation. So you need to stay open. Your covered period needs to stay open for at least that long, but then you can close it after that. And so really you can do this sort of at your convenience and whenever you're ready to apply for forgiveness. Okay, so when you're ready to apply for forgiveness, it's going to be very easy to apply for forgiveness for you. Yay! All right, so what you're going to do is when you're ready to apply for forgiveness, you're going to use the 3508S form. So this is the one-page form that was talked about in the Economic Aid Act. And it was originally put out earlier in the year for loans under $50,000, but now it's for anybody with a loan under $150,000. And I have a separate video about that if you want to go into the detail of that one. Please check it out when it goes to actually filling out the form so you know exactly what you need to do. So you're going to use this 3508S form to apply for forgiveness. And it's very simple. You'll have to put in all the information just on the top, just like you normally would, about your business, your EIN, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to say what your loan amount was, and then what your covered period was, which we just talked about, 8 to 24 weeks. And then you're going to put in how much you spent on payroll costs. And this number could pretty much be, if you have your Schedule C, line 31, you're going to be calculating your payroll costs the same way that you did to get the loan, remember? So you're going to say, okay, my line 31 divided by 12 multiplied times 2.5, that was your loan amount. You're going to use essentially that same calculation to put it in there and say what your payroll costs were. So what your allowable payroll costs are the same as also what your loan amount was, and also the same as what you're going to ask for forgiveness for. If you ended up using less than 100% and you didn't want to take as much draw out of the business, you can lower that amount and say how much you spent on payroll costs. You could do that. What you're going to have to do though is, make sure that you save any documentation of other allowable non-payroll costs. The easy thing about applying for forgiveness as a sole proprietor is that you can use the same information that you use to apply for the loan to apply for forgiveness. Okay, so just keep that in mind because I think I see people trying to overcomplicate this, especially for the sole proprietors, and it's just not complicated. We don't need to overcomplicate it. it's with all the rules and everything, it seems really complicated, but then really at the end of the day, the same number you used to apply for your loan is the exact same calculation and number you're going to use to apply for forgiveness. And you're going to maintain that Schedule C as evidence of your owner's compensation, and then you're also going to maintain bank statements just in case. And that's why it's going to be a lot easier for you to apply for forgiveness, so you don't have to like pull all these different expenses from different places and pull payroll journals and exclude wages and do all this thing. It's easier for you because you're a sole proprietor. Okay, so they're trying to make it easy. So I want you guys to get this money if you can. All right, so once you are ready to apply for forgiveness and you're using that 3508S form, you're going to submit it to your lender, or your lender will have their own portal, but essentially you're going to be using the form 3508S, which is the simplified form. That's the form you want to select if you have the option to select it. I always recommend filling it out in paper format first and then going to your bank to actually fill out their form, because then you have all the answers and you're ready to go. And you've already read through all the certification, so you know what you're signing your name to. So when you're ready to apply for forgiveness, you do it directly with your bank. Don't try to send it to the SBA, because the SBA is going to not do anything with it. You have to do it with the bank that you got the loan from. And then the bank will review it. Once the bank reviews it and approves it, they're going to send it to the SBA. And then the SBA has 90 days to get a determination back to the bank. And when they do that, they're going to fund your loan for whatever they determine is forgivable. So in most cases, it's whatever the bank said was forgivable, the SBA probably agrees with, because we're all trying to use the same rules here. And then they're going to fund the bank. And they will also fund any accrued interest that's been accrued over the time as well. So essentially, at the end of the day, if you get this 100% forgiven, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. Just save all your paperwork. That's a big deal. When you go to apply for forgiveness, you don't actually have to prove anything. You don't have to provide any documentation. But the requirement is that you need to keep the documentation for 4 years for any payroll costs and 3 years for any non-payroll costs. Keep it in a file somewhere safe and sound, so that if you did get audited down the road, you can pull up that documentation, no problem. So that's basically everything you need to know as a sole proprietor getting a PPP loan. We talked about how to determine whether or not you are eligible, how to calculate the cost, how to use the money, and then how to apply for forgiveness. So I hope that is super helpful to you. If you know of anybody else who's in the same situation as you and you are trying to figure out whether or not they can get a PPP loan, please share this video with them, because the whole purpose of this channel is trying to help as many small business owners as we possibly can. And this money is here to help you guys. So please go ahead, share this video with anybody you know that it might be helpful for. And please make sure you like the video if it was helpful, leave any comments below, and also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. All right, thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye.